Hi there, my name is Eric Smith. I'm with Forest River Coachman, Class A Division. Going to give you a short walkthrough today on your freshwater system. Two totally different systems in this motorhome and pretty much any other RV you're going to get in. We separate them very much. The freshwater system and then the black and gray water, the wastewater, if you will. The freshwater has a couple components to it you're going to want to be aware of. You have a supplied option, say if you're hooked up to a water hose on campsite or at home. And then you've also got a freshwater tank on board where you can store water, pump it out at your leisure via an onboard water pump. Going to generally get better performance when you're hooked up to a water hose just because of the volume and the supply of the water really too. So I'd say anytime you have an opportunity to hook up to the city water, that's going to want to be your go-to, I guess. One caution I will give you on that is that in some of the bigger cities, we find especially some of the campgrounds on the outer areas of that, when you hook to your city water connection, a lot of those water sources have very high pressures. We get this feedback a lot. One of the side items that I do recommend to people if they're hooking into those, or at least very least check it, make sure that you're not going to have a problem, is a regulator for the actual pressure of that water when you hook it up to the motorhome. These systems are tested, completed with the water heater in line at 30 pounds of water pressure. Those regulators will kind of keep you in that area, make sure that we're not going to cause any problems to your water system. Anything up to that is going to be more than fine. You have right here the water filter. This here is pretty much on all of our units. The Pursuit, I think maybe we're not doing that on today, but the water filter, you want to keep an eye on that, make sure that that's staying clean at all times, that kind of thing. The freshwater tank, as you're filling that up, if you're used to say a travel trailer fifth wheel, you're going to have been used to maybe being able to fill that freshwater tank with maybe a garden hose that you just hook in there, or maybe even fill it with a bucket. All of our systems are designed to be able to hook a water hose directly to the city water portal. And then when you do that, that runs that directly into the system, into the freshwater fill. You're going to want to hook that up, and that's actually going to fill directly into that freshwater tank. When you're doing that, make sure you don't walk away from the system. If you walk away from it, it shouldn't create any damage. We do make sure we put 2 overflows on it, but it's going to make a mess. It's going to overfill, and it could theoretically damage the system. So when you're hooking up to the freshwater tank fill, hook your water hose up, turn it on. You can gauge that on the inside at the monitor panel. It'll actually have a tank readout on that inside there, just like we do on all of our blacks and gray tanks. Just make sure you're watching it as it gets up in the upper regions of that. You can watch underneath of the motorhome. All of our freshwater tanks will have 2 overflows. If you see any water just start dripping out on that, you can go ahead and shut it off. That will ensure that tank is completely full. The pump, the water pump, which is on board on all of our motorhomes, you're not going to need that if you're hooked up to a city water. That's just kind of runs on the back side of that, pulls the water out of the freshwater tank and runs it through the system. And if your freshwater tank is dry, even though you're hooked up to your city water, that could still damage the pump. It actually has a diaphragm in it that prevents water from running back into it. So anytime that happens, you're going to be running your pump dry. Not good for the lifetime of the pump. So make sure if you're hooked to city water, just make sure your pump isn't running. The other thing is anytime you fill your tank up, your freshwater tank, or you hook up to city water, one thing I recommend is make sure you get in the habit of going through and burping the faucets before you do anything else. Come through, open up the hot and the cold lines. Outside shower, go ahead and hit your toilet. Any of the faucets on the inside, anything that you have on that you can run water out of, you're going to want to crack those items open. Make sure that you get water coming out of there. Then and only then you're going to want to turn your hot water heater on. One of the worst things to happen, be out on a trip and accidentally kick your hot water heater on. Water heater isn't full of water yet, and then you wind up having damage on your hot water heater. Make sure you get in the habit of burping your faucet. That's going to make sure that everything is working fine for a long time. Not a whole lot on this that's much different than your house. Got a couple faucets on the inside. The faucet out here filter here. So that's more general. You know, people are used to that part of it. Just wanted to cover the actual functions of the system. So there's a much more detailed version of this, much more lengthy, on our website at coachmanrv.com. You can check that out. Just go straight to coachmanrv.com, top right corner, Digital's owner manual. It'll let you pick from motorized, Class A's, Class C's, etc. Just find what you've got on there, click on it, and there's a whole host of information on there. Check us out there, like us on Facebook, and as always, we appreciate your business.